So welcome to Storybird. Let's see, the first thing that you're going to do is log in if you already have an account. If you don't have an account, click on sign up and you can create your own teacher account, and they have many different options as far as the types of accounts that you have. So once you're in, you can see your published Storybirds, you can see your assignments, you can see your classes. So if we could click on classes, you're going to come to my class or your class. Okay, at the top, you can see your students. When you click on students, all of your students are listed there. You can see their usernames. Here you can change their usernames. Now, I'm going to add a student. I'm adding Charlie. Well, actually, I'm going to add Charlie Brown, but I think I actually already added a Charlie Brown. So let's see. Yep. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add Lucy. Is Lucy Charlie Brown's sister? I believe so. All right, so let's change it to that. So I'm going to add a student. I just click on last name, first name, and add. Very simple. All right, there I go. Now I am going to, the Storybird gives them a password. I like to give all of my students one password because it's easier for me to manage. And then what I do is I tell them all their username is first name, last 3 digits of their student ID, and then their password is, let's say, Mrs. Park, which actually is not their password, but let's just put that here for Lucy. All right, so now she's done. She's got her username, password. So when she goes to Storybird, she clicks sign in. She's Brown L123, password Mrs. Park. Okay. Now, so these are things that I can do. I can change the password. Next, after I've added all of my students, and I should say you can bulk enroll all of your students as well, as you see that as an option. And that's what I did for all of my students. I bulk enrolled them. So now I'm going to click on assignments. Okay, so I want to give all of my students an assignment. Now, I do not have a lot of assignments that I have given them yet. As you see, I only have one Storybird. In the beginning, when I'm letting my students learn a tool, I let them play. I give them an assignment, and the assignment is just make a Storybird, figure it out, play around with it. Because in the second half of the year, I use this as an assessment tool. We work on, and I'll talk about this a little bit more at the webinar, but when I teach figurative language, I want them to use it in a Storybird. Okay, so here I'm just gonna do a sample assignment just to show you how to do it. So this says webinar, and I'll just give you a little description of what I want the assignment to be. So I want you to create a Storybird. To get you to understand how to use Storybird. Okay, probably not the best description, but let's go with that. Now I can upload a photo. Do I want the spell check on or do I want the spell check off? I personally want the spell check on, but if you're using it as an assessment tool for spelling, and that would be a great way to use Storybird. Have them write a Storybird where they use all of their spelling words. What a wonderful way to use Storybird, right? All right, so now my assignment's created. When my students log in, they're going to see that assignment come up. Now, this review tool is really neat because what I can do here is I can see what all of my students that have made Storybirds in a list form. I don't have to actually go through all the Storybirds. I can just see it here in this quick little snapshot. Who's been making Storybirds? Who's done the assignment? Okay, so that's the review tool. Next, we have a library. Now, this is where I can see all of my students' Storybirds. Okay, so I can see and I can click on each one. So this is great for when I'm ready to grade if I want to just pull it up from there. I can also go into the library or the assignment and grade the assignment straight from there because this is going to give me all of their Storybirds. You see there was a comment section. All of the students can comment and they can also buy their Storybirds if they'd like. But the comment section is usually part of the assignment. Okay, and you see there's a few other options right there. But I have my students comment, at least post one comment to one Storybird. Okay. All right, so let's create a Storybird. Let's just dive in and see how to create a Storybird. So you can see there is beautiful artwork that is created by artists, and you have to stick with one artist. So this is important because you have to make a book, and you want the art to kind of stay on the same topic, let's say. Okay, so you might have an artist that has some artwork about a little boy and another group of artwork that has to do with medieval times. Well, you want to make sure that there's enough art that has to do with the same topic. So I'm going to pick this catalog because there's a lot of very similar artwork, as you'll see. So you click on the picture, and here's another artist. There's a lot of them that have a lot of similar artwork, but that's definitely something that I teach my kids to look for. Okay, so I'm going to click on catalog, and this art, and then I'll click on, yes, start a Storybird. I want to use this artist's work, and I can only use this artist's work in my Storybird, as you'll see. Now I get to the drawing board, okay? I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's what I call it. So you can see all of the art that is created from this artist, okay? Now I can add pages, I can remove pages, and you'll see there are lots of different ways I can set it up. All right, so I'm going to make this the title page. Now, notice how I can have the artwork take up the right half of the page. I can have it take up the left half of the page. Sometimes I can have it take up 3/4 of the page. Sometimes with the landscape piece of art, let's see, this one's a landscape. Here, you can have it take up the top half of the page or the bottom half of the page, and you can write underneath of it or below it. So it really, or you can have it take up the entire page, as you just saw, and I'll show you again. If you want to have one full page that's just art, just set it up that way. There you go. Okay? All right. So let's do it this way, and let's just fill in the pages, okay, in any particular way. And while the students are doing this, again, you want that this is a great opportunity for them to really shine and be creative. And I've always found that students that don't always necessarily like to write feel like this is such a motivator for them, because here's where you can just write your text in the text box here. This is such a motivator because it just, especially students I know that have occupational therapy needs, and maybe they're not the best with artwork, they're not the best with handwriting, their handwriting isn't great, but here is something that they can create that looks beautiful, very visually appealing, and that's such a motivator. So here I've saved it. Now I can give a description, a summary, however you want to do that. You can tag it. You can make it private or public. Okay, that's their choice or your choice. You type the age range so it's for the intended audience, and you click publish. Now, here you can also get a badge. Well, I'll talk about, let me show you what it looks like first. Here we go. Here's the full screen of the Storybird, and look how beautiful this looks. And again, on the left or the right side of the page, typically you would have the text, the story, and then that's the end. You can share it, but you can also embed it. So if you have a wiki space or a wiki page, if you have a blog, if you have a Blackboard page, I embed these into my wiki, I embed them into my Blackboard page. Anywhere you can embed anything, you can embed this. You can add comments, and again, I have my students comment, and that really is something that I like to teach them. Now notice when I embed, I can embed it as a large Storybird, or I can embed it as a small Storybird. Okay, different codes, depends on what you're going to use it for. But really, it's a great tool to use to encourage students to write, oftentimes to reluctant writers to write and really shine. So this is an overview of Storybird. I hope you've enjoyed it.